The first rule about Avengers Infinity War is do not talk about Avengers Infinity War. Yes, I saw this movie today, and this is a real tricky one to review because you can't say anything about it. Now, I was seriously considering having this review be a spoiler review, but I ultimately decided against it. I feel, strange as it might seem, there are still people who have not seen this movie. Okay, so let me just start off by saying there may be some mild spoilers later in this review. I'll try my best to ignore it, but if you want to know my general thoughts on this movie, I think it's a really good superhero movie. It has great action, and it's surprisingly easy to follow, even if you haven't seen barely any of the Marvel movies, which is what happened in my situation. I don't know, the Marvel stuff never really grabbed me. I watched the first Avengers, I watched Black Panther, and I watched the two Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But I don't know why. I guess after a while it just seemed like too many movies. So like, oh, I can't watch all of these. And even though, so Black Panther I reviewed recently, and that is a very good film, and that is a film that is legitimately in Best Picture talk. But now, coming out of Avengers Infinity War, as much as I loved Black Panther, and I did enjoy that film very much, I was still like, that was a cool standalone movie in a franchise that is much too complicated for me to care about. But now, after seeing Avengers Infinity War, now I'm honestly starting to think I should go back and watch all the other movies. Which is quite a lot, I know. And I don't know, because a lot of the more recent ones I'm curious about, like Thor Ragnarok, people say is very good. Spider-Man Homecoming. I want to see Tom Holland carry an action movie because he's going to be the next Nathan Drake, and I really want that to be good. Yeah, after Tomb Raider disappointed, that's my new hope for the movie to break the video game curse. But also, Ant-Man, for a guy who is super obsessed with the concept of shrinking, like, I've sort of been avoiding that, maybe because he shrinks almost too small to have any fun with, like, but getting off topic. So Avengers Infinity War is a good movie, and it is a fun movie, and it is a movie that is really hard to talk about without getting into spoilers. It's a lot of very fun action, and what I will say is that the editing is good. The editing is very good. When I first heard about this movie, I was like, there's what, like 100, maybe 200? There are so many superhero movies. There's so many superheroes in this one movie. It is like, you look at the poster, it's like an endless barrage of names, and this is probably one of the most impressive all-star casts that I've ever seen. It's like, look at this. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Chadwick Boseman, Mark Ruffalo, Scarlett Johansson, and the rest. There are so many people in this movie, and Josh Brolin as the villain Thanos, which Marvel does seem to be getting better at their villain problem because Thanos is a very good villain, and Josh Brolin does a good job portraying him. And his motivation is very interesting. What's also interesting is that this movie is very much an ensemble piece. Robert Downey Jr. is given top credit, but it's not really an Iron Man movie. It's a movie about everybody. It's a movie about so many characters. And when I first thought about seeing this movie, I was like, okay, is it going to feel too crowded? Is it going to feel too, oh my god, there's a bajillion characters in this movie and I can't concentrate? And it really doesn't. I can think the writers are very clever with which they get the characters into groups and then they edit. It's very good editing. They go back and forth between different groups, and there's never really any sense of, oh, we're with these people again. Oh, I gotta want to wait to get to my favorite characters. There's never really that sense. Like, these are all, you enjoy watching them. Now, I'm someone who, outside of Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't know these characters very well. But watching this movie made me want to learn more about them. And early on, with the opening scene, I was very worried that, oh my god, I'm going to be so lost watching this film. But I actually wasn't. Another thing that the movie is clever about is they are aware of the fact that not everybody in this audience has seen every single Marvel movie. So they're pacing it out a bit, and they're being like Mark Ruffalo's character is like, he was off in Asgard during the Thor Ragnarok movie, and he's not entirely sure what's been happening, and other characters are filling him in. Oh, here's what's going on, here's who Thanos is, here's what Thanos wants, and here's what happens between me and Steve, and here's what happened between Black Widow and Hulk, but all in a pretty natural way. It doesn't sound too forced. You know what they're doing, but it works. It's believable that the characters would say that. It's not like the character going, oh, as you know, this and this. No, it feels believable. You don't know this, I have to catch you up on this. And back to the action. Which, everything in this movie takes place in a day, in like 24 hours, less probably. What an unbelievably hectic day. Wow, I think I have crazy tastes sometimes. But the editing is very well done, and it's very well written and well paced. And if I had seen all of the Marvel movies prior to this, I think I would have gotten even more into it. As it happens, like, the only characters I really care about are the Guardians of the Galaxy, and even then, okay, this might be slightly controversial. I'm not entirely sure how the comments are going to react. I think currently my favorite character in the MCU is Rocket. I just really like this guy because he's the only one of his kind, and he's angry a lot and he has a lot of attitude, but you kind of feel like you have to have that kind of attitude if you want anybody to take you seriously in that circumstance. So, and Bradley Cooper does a great job in the voice, and I just want to see him, because there's nobody else like him, and he doesn't really have a hope for a girlfriend or something. And given what happens during the events of this film, well, I can't say anything. But, I don't know, Rocket's my favorite, personally. But I'm curious to watch more of these movies. I'm stammering a lot, I apologize for that. The acting's all good. Is this going to be an Oscar movie? I don't think so. Although, watching this movie has made me doubt Black Panther's chances. Earlier, I was like, oh, Black Panther could legitimately be in Best Picture. And now that Avengers has come out, it's almost like, has that movie stolen Black Panther's thunder? Because certainly more people are talking about Avengers right now than they were about Black Panther. Maybe not ever were. And by the time voting for that begins, another Marvel movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp, will have come out. So, like, how many Marvel movies... I apologize. This is unscripted. But at a certain point, at the end of the year, are people really going to be still talking about Black Panther as a big Best Picture thing? Because I think some people are probably going to say Avengers Infinity War should be Best Picture. And, I mean, I kind of see... The thing about Avengers Infinity War is... Okay, I can't really... Again, you can't really talk about this stuff without getting into spoiler territory, but I worry that... Okay, I'll say this in the least spoilerific way I can possibly say this. It ends on something of a cliffhanger, and there is a slight lack of closure, and I think that could hurt it when people talk about the film in a Best Picture stance. There's gonna be more Marvel movies, and while we're in the territory of slight spoilers, I will say that even though quite a lot of what happens in this movie can be considered shocking, I worry that it like how many of what happens, that's bad grammar. I worry that some of these spoilers are going to be undone in future movies. That they're not going to have the guts to stick with the decisions that they've made. Okay, that's it. That's as spoilery as I will get. But it is tempting to talk about more because there are. I am so sorry, I'm burping today. There are so many spoilers in this movie. And there's so many characters. I think it was the Ellen Show that actually referred to the film as Avengers Infinity Cast, which is almost too perfect. I feel that's almost what they should have called it. But it's a good film. Don't go in expecting like a Schindler's List or something with a lot of high drama. There's drama in this, but I think you kind of know. Well, actually, I should be careful about saying that because the movie. Okay, and again, we're going maybe into some slight spoiler territory, but it was darker than I thought it was going to be. It's not dark as a typical like DC movie, but it got dark. And okay, that's it. End of spoilers. Serious this time. Yeah. So at this point, I don't know what else I can say about this movie because it's been out for a week, and chances are, like, most of you will have already seen it. And if you haven't seen it, and if you're wondering if you should see it, first of all, if you're at all interested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you should go. If you're worried that, oh, I haven't seen enough of the movies and I won't get enough of the references, still go. I think you only need to have a vague understanding. Like, I actually watched a video online that's like, all the Marvel movies in 20 minutes, like an analysis of everything. Like, go online and watch a video like that. And just look up plot synopsises for the movies, or talk to someone else who has seen the movies. Look at the CinemaSins videos. Like, there are things you can do. Or, if you really want to go hardcore, just watch all the movies. You don't have to do that to enjoy it, but it helps to have at least some passing knowledge of the movies. There are still a bunch of things where I'm like, that's a reference to something I don't get because I'm not a huge Marvel fanboy. I will say, unlike Black Panther, this movie made me want to be a Marvel fanboy. This movie made me want to go back and watch all the other movies, which is huge. And I don't know if I'm actually going to fulfill that promise. I don't know if I'm going to go back and watch the movies because like some of them are kind of hard to find. And some of them are better reviewed than others. But I don't know. Like, Avengers Infinity War is a good movie. How's it going to do come Oscar season? I don't know. Visual effects, sound editing, sound mixing. It's in contention for those 3 categories, and beyond that, I don't think it has a realistic shot at anything. Unless, maybe if you really, really wanted to push it, you could try and find a spot in Best Adapted Screenplay. Because I think that this screenplay could not have been easy to write, and I think they deserve a little bit of hesitation. But I'm not saying it's going to get nominated, because it's very, very unlikely for a comic book film. Although Logan pulled it off last year, so mad props to Logan. Anyway, Avengers Infinity War is a very good movie, and if you haven't seen it, I would recommend checking it out. One last thing, I went to see it in a theater it was a Thursday matinee. And it was a week after the movie came out, so it was not too crowded. There were like 24 other people in an IMAX theater. And there were reactions, but not huge reactions. Someone online said, oh, the best way to watch this movie is in a theater that's filled with people who are all Marvel fanboys and they're all gonna cheer, and if you can get in a theater like that, congratulations. This review feels like an afterthought because I think that most of the people who are going to be interested in this movie have already seen it. It already beat the box office record for biggest opening weekend of all time. So that's part of why I wanted to see it. I feel that it's very much a movement kind of movie. I was very unsure about whether or not I was going to see the film, and I'm glad I did. And I think I'm going to check out some more Marvel films after this. Avengers Infinity War is a genuinely good movie, and if you haven't seen it already, check it out. I think you'll at least want to be part of the culture, and then after you see it, you can decide if you want to be more of a Marvel fanboy or fangirl. Great movie. I recommend it.